Our economics and business editor has been studying the markets. Liam Halligan is with me here. What is going on? Where are the moves? Are things up? Are things down?
They're pretty much playing a waiting game at the moment, Tom. The pound is slightly up on the day. It's up towards $1.13, up from around $1.12. And the 10-year gilt yield that we've been discussing today, the sort of benchmark commercial rate of borrowing, the rate that the government borrows at, sets the tone. It ripples out across the economy for mortgages and personal loans. That's down slightly from around 4.3% to 4.1%. But it's worth just putting this in context. I mean, back at the beginning of the year, the pound was $1.35. And now it's $1.13. So it's clearly lost quite a bit. Now, some people would say, if you work for an exporter, whoopee-doo. That means our exports are more competitive overseas, so we get more revenue in.
Although their components will be more expensive as well.
If they import components, then those components will be more expensive. What's actually happened is a weaker pound. It means that we fire up our own manufacturing industry because we manufacture more components ourselves. Talk to people in the West Midlands. They love a weaker pound. They love a weaker pound. On the other hand, that weaker pound from $1.35 to $1.13 now, that imports inflation, because it's not just components, as you say. We import a lot of food in this country. Farmers don't like to hear that, but it's true. And we also import, of course, a lot of fuel, and fuel is priced in dollars. That makes that fuel more expensive. So a lower pound really injects inflation into the system, and that's part of the reason, I think, why the Bank of England should have been raising interest rates a lot earlier, because if you've got a higher interest rate, it attracts more investment from overseas, so-called hot money, and you have a stronger pound.
At least matching what the Federal Reserve in the United States do. We completely forget that all of this went on after the US raised rates by, 0.75%.
Yeah, did that three times in a row.
The euro is now worth less than the dollar. Yeah. We don't talk about this nearly enough.
Also, we see the Bank of England, this sort of, the cavalry coming in on their white chargers. They can do no wrong. The Bank of England has... Well, I've written it many times. They won't thank me for saying it, but the Bank of England has been woefully behind the curve. The Bank of England should have been raising interest rates long ago, deep into last year.
It might have been hard, but it would have been less volatile.
Way before the war in Ukraine, inflation in this country was already at a 30-year high. People like me kept writing that inflation's going to go up, you've got to get ahead of this. The Governor of the Bank of England kept saying, it's transitory. Don't worry your pretty little head.
I remember talking to you about this on this very programme, about how inflation would become the biggest story, and you were bang on. Completely right. Well,